I noticed the light first. It wasn't bright, it wasn't sudden. It didn't even register as light at first. Just a faint difference in the darkness, like the room wasn't as evenly dark as it should have been. I lay still in bed, eyes open, staring toward the ceiling, trying to decide if I was imagining it. The apartment was quiet in the way it usually was at that hour. Not silent, just settled. The refrigerator hummed faintly from the kitchen. Somewhere in the building, pipes made a low, distant sound as water moved through them. The light didn't change. That was what bothered me. It stayed exactly the same. Thin, steady, as if something narrow was reflecting light from somewhere else and holding it in place. I shifted my eyes toward the bedroom wall. There it was, a vertical line no wider than a finger, resting against the paint near the door. It didn't flicker. It didn't move with my breathing. It just stayed there. I remember thinking it was strange how calm I felt in that moment. Not relaxed, just neutral, like my body hadn't caught up to whatever my mind was trying to process. I listened. Nothing unusual. No footsteps, no voices, no sounds from the hallway. I told myself it was probably a car passing outside, headlights slipping through the blinds at just the right angle. That happens sometimes. The street ran close enough to the building that late-night traffic could throw light into the rooms if the timing was right, but cars didn't usually stop mid-beam. I stayed where I was, counting breaths, watching the line. It didn't widen, it didn't fade, it didn't shift upward or downward the way light usually does when it's passing through. After a while, I became aware of something else. A sound so soft I couldn't tell if it was coming from outside the room or from inside my own head. Breathing. At first, I thought it was mine. I focused on it, slowed my breathing down, tried to see if the rhythm matched. It didn't. The sound was slightly out of sync, close enough to confuse, far enough to notice once I paid attention. I didn't move. I didn't sit up. I didn't reach for my phone. I listened. The breathing wasn't coming from the bed. It wasn't coming from the ceiling. It was lower, near the floor, beyond the door. That was the point where the calm started to feel artificial, like something my body was forcing, because panic hadn't been authorized yet. The line of light disappeared. Not gradually, not smoothly. It was just gone. The breathing continued for a few more seconds, then stopped as well, as if whoever or whatever was responsible had noticed something. I lay there until the room felt evenly dark again. Morning came without incident. Sunlight replaced the orange glow from the streetlight. The bedroom looked exactly the way it always did, familiar, neutral, safe enough. I told myself the night had been a half-dream, the kind you get when you wake up briefly and your brain fills in the gaps. I'd had those before. Most people had. I showered, got dressed, and left for work. The day passed normally. Meetings, emails, conversations that required me to nod and respond at the right times. The night faded into the background the way strange things often do once daylight puts distance between you and them. I came home just after 7. The apartment greeted me the way it always had. Quiet. Still. The air smelled faintly of cleaner from when I'd wiped the counters the night before. I locked the door behind me and stood there for a moment, listening. Not because I expected to hear something, but because I realized I wanted to. Nothing. I made dinner, ate at the counter, checked my phone. Everything felt normal enough that I started to feel embarrassed about how much space the memory of that light had taken up in my head. That night, I went to bed earlier than usual. I left the bedroom door open, the way I always did. I liked being able to see into the hallway. It made the apartment feel less boxed in. The light didn't come back right away. I lay there, eyes open, waiting. The ceiling fan turned slowly above me, its soft clicking marking time. The building settled around me. Then I heard it again. The sound was different this time. Not a scrape, not breathing. A shift, like someone adjusting their weight on carpet. My eyes moved to the doorway. The hallway was dark, empty, but the air felt wrong, thicker somehow, cooler near the floor. The sound came again, slight, controlled. I realized then that whatever it wasn't moving around aimlessly. It was staying in one place, listening. I waited for fear to arrive in full, for my heart to start racing, for my muscles to tense. It didn't happen. Instead, a strange clarity settled in, the kind that makes small details stand out. The way the door frame cast a shadow, the faint reflection of the nightlight from the bathroom bouncing off the wall. That was when I noticed something else. The shadow in the hallway didn't match the light source. It was too narrow, too vertical, as if something was standing just out of view, blocking part of the light without fully revealing itself. I sat up slowly. The sound stopped. I held my breath. The shadow remained. I stayed there for a long time, staring into the hallway, trying to convince myself that my eyes were playing tricks on me, that the darkness was uneven, that the angle was strange. Eventually, I lay back down without turning away. The shadow didn't move. At some point, exhaustion won. I don't remember falling asleep, only waking up sometime before dawn with the sense that the apartment was empty again. In the morning, I checked the hallway. Nothing. No signs of anyone else having been there. No marks on the carpet. No misplaced objects. But the bedroom door was closed. I knew I hadn't closed it. I stood there, hand on the knob, feeling something settle into place that I didn't yet have a name for. That was the morning I started locking my bedroom door, and the night something started waiting on the other side. I started checking the door every morning after that. Not because I expected to find something new, but because I needed to confirm that nothing had changed while I slept. It became part of the routine without me consciously deciding it should. Wake up, sit up, look at the door, check the lock. Most mornings it was still locked. On the mornings it wasn't, I stood there longer than usual, trying to convince myself I must have unlocked it without remembering. That explanation felt thin, but it was easier than the alternatives. I stopped leaving the bedroom door open at night. The hallway felt different once I did that. Smaller, closer, like it was pressing inward instead of existing as a neutral space. I told myself that was just perception, that closing off part of the apartment would naturally make it feel tighter. Still, I didn't like it. The first real change came a few days later. I came home from work and noticed my shoes weren't where I'd left them. I always kicked them off just inside the door, one leaning against the wall, the other slightly turned. It was an unimportant habit, but a consistent one. That evening, they were lined up neatly, side by side, soles flat, toes pointing toward the hallway. I stood there with my keys in my hand, staring down at them, feeling that same artificial calm settle over me again. My mind immediately tried to supply reasons. Maybe I'd done it without thinking. Maybe I'd been tired. Maybe I was projecting patterns onto randomness. I moved the shoes back to where they belonged and went inside. That night, I didn't hear anything. No breathing, no shifting, no scrape. The silence bothered me more than the sounds had. Over the next week, small things continued to change. The chair at the kitchen table would be pulled out slightly when I got home, even though I always pushed it in. The bathroom mirror would be angled differently, turned just enough that it caught light from the hallway instead of reflecting the sink. The couch cushions would be rearranged, not messily, but deliberately, as if someone preferred a different configuration. Nothing was ever missing. Nothing was ever broken. Everything was subtle enough that I questioned myself before questioning the apartment. I started documenting things. Not formally, just notes on my phone, times, positions, details that felt too easy to forget. At night, I listened more carefully. I could tell when the building settled and when something else happened. The difference became clearer the more attention I paid. Pipes were dull and irregular. Footsteps were soft and intentional. Fabric brushing against carpet had a rhythm to it. I heard that sound again one night. The same careful movement near the floor. Slow, controlled. I didn't sit up this time. I waited. The sound moved away from the door, down the hallway, and stopped. Minutes passed. Then I heard the refrigerator door open. Just slightly. The light came on. I could see the glow from under the bedroom door. I lay there, staring at that thin line, feeling my thoughts slow down as if my brain was trying to preserve energy. The refrigerator door closed. The light disappeared. I didn't move until morning. The next day, I checked the fridge. The contents had been rearranged, not taken, not consumed, just moved. Items I rarely used were now on the front shelf. Things I reached for daily were pushed toward the back. The condiments on the door were in a different order. Someone had spent time there. That was when denial finally began to crack. I bought a small camera that evening. Nothing expensive, just something simple that connected to my phone. I mounted it in the corner of the living room, angled toward the hallway. I didn't tell myself it was for protection. I told myself it was for peace of mind. That night, I checked the feed before going to bed. The hallway looked empty. Still, I locked the bedroom door and lay down. The breathing came back around 1 in the morning. It was closer than before, louder, right against the door. I watched the camera feed on my phone, holding it just above my chest. The hallway was empty on the screen. No movement, no shadow, no obstruction. But I could hear it. Slow inhale, slow exhale. The breathing stopped. On the camera feed, something changed. The image distorted slightly, like the connection lagged for a moment. When it stabilized, the hallway looked different. The perspective was lower, as if the camera had been adjusted. I stared at the screen, heart still steady but tight, watching the angle carefully. The view was now tilted just enough that the bottom of my bedroom door filled more of the frame. Someone had touched the camera. The feed cut out for exactly 3 minutes. When it came back, the angle was back to normal. The breathing didn't return that night. In the morning, I found a chair pulled into the hallway, placed directly outside my bedroom door. Facing it, I didn't move it right away. I stood there, staring at it, imagining someone sitting in it, listening to me sleep, imagining how long they'd been there, imagining how close they'd been. When I finally picked it up, I noticed something on the seat, a shallow indentation, as if someone had just stood up. That afternoon, I left work early and started looking for a new place to live. I told myself it was temporary, a reset, that whatever had been happening would stop once I was gone. I didn't consider the possibility that it might follow. I moved out the following weekend. I didn't wait for a lease to end or give myself time to reconsider. I packed what I needed, left behind what I didn't, and told myself that distance would be enough, that whatever had been happening was tied to the apartment, not to me. The new place was smaller, brighter, a newer building with thinner walls and neighbors close enough that silence never fully settled. I told myself that alone would make a difference. For the first few nights, nothing happened. I slept poorly but quietly. No breathing, no sounds near the floor, no shadows that didn't match their source. The routine of checking locks slowly faded, replaced by a cautious optimism I didn't want to name. I started to believe I'd overreacted. A week passed, then another. I unpacked the rest of my things, set up the furniture the way I liked it, learned the sounds of the new building, the elevator, the plumbing, the traffic outside. Normal sounds. One evening, while putting dishes away, I noticed the smell. It was faint, barely there, but familiar. Stale fabric, old air. I froze, hand still inside the cabinet, and waited. The smell didn't intensify. It didn't move. I told myself I was imagining it. That night, I slept with the bedroom door closed. I woke up before my alarm with the sense that something had shifted. Not a sound, not a movement, just a feeling. I opened my eyes and stared at the door. It was open. I knew I'd closed it. I lay there for a long time, listening. The apartment felt settled. No breathing, no movement, just the distant sound of a neighbor's television through the wall. I got up and checked the locks. All secure. The next morning, I found a photograph on the kitchen counter. It was face down. I didn't touch it right away. I stood there, staring at the back of it, recognizing the paper before I recognized what it meant. The edges were worn, softened, like it had been handled many times. When I finally turned it over, my stomach tightened in a quiet, controlled way. It was of me, standing in my new apartment, taken from the hallway. The angle was low, as if whoever took it had been sitting. On the back, written in the same neat handwriting as before, were 4 words. You didn't move. I didn't call the police this time. I didn't install cameras. I didn't confront anything. I threw the photograph away and went to work. That night, I locked the bedroom door. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the building breathe around me. Pipes, elevators, distant voices, normal sounds. Then, very softly, I heard it. A shift, fabric against carpet, close to the floor, right outside the door. I didn't move. I haven't moved since. If this story stayed with you, consider liking the video, subscribing to Strange Streets, and sharing your thoughts in the comments.